reassert people's right to protest against the monarchy. Right now, only a few days since Her Britannic Majesty died, and since therefore the accession of King Charles III. Viewers of this channel might know that I'm a sentimental royalist. I don't think that all royals are good or gifted. I mean, they could all be good and gifted. I mean, I happen to know that they're not. They could all be evil and they could all be talentless, but they're not. They're somewhere in between. They're a mixed bag. In that sense, kind of a fairly ordinary family. Might be the only ordinary thing about them. But despite the fact that I'm an ardent monarchist, one of the few ways in which, this might seem counterintuitive, is that I believe that people certainly are entitled to protest against the royal family now, even though there's a period of mourning, and at relevant places. People say, oh, it's not the right, the funeral procession, or whatever. Well, it is right, if that's how you feel. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it. I would demonstrate for the monarchy, but some people don't like it. Don't care. Don't care. Some people don't like the monarchy. We can't say, well, you can't have a royal procession because some people don't like it, even if it's that the majority of people are monarchists now, and monarchist sentiment's actually particularly high at the moment because of sentimentality, the wave of sympathy generated by the death of Her Gracious Majesty, and so King Charles is actually quite popular right now. But it's troubling that several people have been arrested for entirely peaceful protests. When there was that procession up the Royal Mile in Edinburgh from Holyrood House to St Giles's Cathedral, a man shouted out at Prince Andrew something like, "You're a disgrace," and he was promptly arrested by the police, but he was shoved by the crowd. Those who shoved him, they should have been arrested. Okay, it's not of a breach of the peace to say this thing. Some people assaulted this man who'd done something which was within his rights. And this man was expressing what millions of people, perhaps tens of millions of people in the United Kingdom alone feel, that Prince Andrew is a really rebarbative character, should not represent the United Kingdom. And now I think a lot of this goes too far. He's not proved to have committed a single crime. He's never been charged with a crime. He's never found to have committed a civil wrong, even. I know a lot of nonsense is spoken about him. I mean, I think he is a fool. I think he's injudicious at best. I think he has a lot of distasteful attitudes. But anyway, people whose views on him are much stronger than mine are most certainly entitled to give voice to those. And so this man spoke for many when he said that. But even if he'd only spoken for himself, he'd have the right to do so. And Labour MP Zara Sultana has correctly said that the police should not be doing this. People have the right to vocalise their anti-monarchist views, and it is scandalous that the police need this underlined. Okay, maybe he's a dirty old man, fine, say that, but no one should be criminalised for saying that. Maybe he isn't a dirty old man. It might be a defamatory statement, but that's a civil matter. It's not a criminal one. This one exists in tort. Prosecutions for criminal libel haven't taken place since the 70s. Golden Balls and all that, the book about it, and not successfully for a long time before that. So Liberty is a civil liberties group, and it says that the police should not be trying to muzzle protest, and they're trying to abridge our right to demonstrate, and that should worry us all. That was another alleged breach of the peace in the Royal Mile. Some woman held up a sign saying "fuck imperialism." Well, I mean, obviously British imperialism is over now. I'm an ardent imperialist as well, but people have the right to say that, and I would say pro-imperialism, hold up a placard saying that, chant saying that. Some people don't like it. Tough. We have a free society, and that's the price you might pay, is you might have to encounter people who don't see eye to eye with you on everything. And it's good that we can have a spirited debate, even a heated debate. Heat, in this case, generates light. We can only improve the situation if we can discuss things candidly. Two men arrested in Edinburgh. I'm not sure whether they will be prosecuted. Now, I know it was quite a sensitive time. You might say it was bad of them, foolish of them, all the rest of it. It was upsetting to people. Well, that's no argument why they shouldn't do it, just because it gives offence. The trouble is, anything that causes fear, distress, or alarm is a crime, certainly in England. I'm not sure about in Scotland. And the trouble is there's such elasticity to distress. If anyone dislikes that, that's distress. You can never say or do anything that people don't like. A breach of the peace can be interpreted very broadly indeed. Shouting can be deemed to be a breach of the peace. I know swearing at people like that. Anyway, so that woman, a Mexican woman, was arrested outside St Giles's Cathedral on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh on suspicion of a breach of a peace, and she's going to appear in Edinburgh Sheriff Court in the coming days for holding that contentious sign, fuck imperialism, abolish monarchy. Well, anyway, she said it's something about the global south drawing attention to her cause. Now, because I heartily disagree with these causes, it's probably all the better they said it now, because it's reflecting discredit on their cause, as it seemed to be so distasteful. Or after the king was proclaimed in Edinburgh, someone held up a sign saying, up the Republic, and people were shouting or booing or whatever, drowned out by a greater number of people, is mostly royalists who go to these things. Some people are not really monarchists or anti-monarchists, but go along because it's a show, it's a spectacle. And it's fine that they should say that. I could go to an anti-monarchist event and say God save the king or whatever up the monarchy. I like to display my unionist views, my British identity in the Republic of Ireland. People are saying not my king. Okay, good. They should say that. That's what they believe, and I'm pleased to hear it. I would campaign for the restoration of the monarchy in the Republic of Ireland, the dissolution of the monarchy, our reabsorption into the United Kingdom, probably a forlorn hope, but I'm most certainly constitutionally entitled to do that. So this intolerance towards dissent is worrying. Now, some police superintendents have said to their officers, come on, watch it. You can't be arresting people for doing something which is entirely within their rights. So Paul Polsland, he's a barrister, and in London, he held up a blank piece of paper and he was spoken to on Parliament Square. And the police officer detained him, didn't arrest him. I mean, this has happened to me when they're spoken to, ask for your details, and then you're allowed to go. Mr. Polsland was filming him back. Um, so you don't have to be formally released when you're just detained. Ask for your details. Why? I don't have to give you my details. I'm not legally obliged to give you my details for holding up a blank piece of paper. And if he'd written "Not My King" on him, he would be arrested. Well, that is preposterous. But Edinburgh Royalist, he, King of England, Charles III, I have lived with him better or worse being British Italian. Well, that is ungrammatical as well as insensible. So people shouldn't use the death of the Queen as a chance to try to usurp our liberties. So we ought to have a freedom of expression. And I know no right is absolute, including freedom of expression. That's where we have the tort of defamation. That's why incitement to racial hatred or incitement to violence is a crime. But beyond that, just about anything should be allowed. So someone's been arrested pursuant to Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986. But I'm deeply concerned about this. A man was arrested for shouting who elected him when the king was proclaimed in Oxford. The man was arrested, but rapidly de-arrested. So okay, so for some officers don't get it right. They misunderstand the law. They've been poorly trained. They're overzealous, and they might be worried this will provoke some sort of fracas. And it's true that the royalists might duff them up. In which cases, the royalists would be the ones to blame. Right, so thank you for watching my video, and kindly subscribe. Home rule for Ireland. Well, within the United Kingdom, I prefer a full union, but home rule within the UK will be preferable to what we have now. Trouble is, it's highly improbable that this shall ever transpire. All right, thank you very much for watching. Please donate to me on PayPal, georgecallahan79 at gmail.com. Goodbye, and God save the King.